Hello, my name is Ghzala and I'm the Deputy Director of West of Scotland Regional Equality Council, also known as WSREC, and this is my presentation for the Heritage Trust Network. We're standing here today in Napier's Hall Street Centre, also known as WSREC offices, on the 3rd of August 2020, week 19 of the lockdown. Normally this would be a hustling, bustling day with lots of community members, staff, walking in and out of the doors, but it's really quiet today. We haven't been in our offices for over 3 months and all our work is now done online. Because of the lockdown, we have created some of our archive heritage footage to show you examples of some of the delivery that we've done with the heritage sector. West of Scotland Regional Equality Council, also known as WSREC, has been around since 1971. Over the years we've evolved as an organisation and now we are one of 4 large organisations in Scotland in terms of the geographic area that we cover and also the demographic of the communities. We have a vision that is an inclusive society free from discrimination, and a lot of our work supports promoting good relations, reducing inequalities, discrimination, and we're funded through a number of streams to help us support this aim. Our vision is an equal and human-based society where everyone is valued and can take an active role. We're working with communities across all equality strands. We develop and deliver community-led responses to eliminate discrimination and attain rights, remove barriers to build a fair and just society. To give you a context of our work within the heritage sector, about 8 to 10 years ago we realised there was a massive gap within communities accessing heritage services and the sector. Over the years we had delivered small activities showing communities a sense of belonging, how to celebrate diversity. However, we were needing something more and the gap was still quite big. We were successful with a number of grants and some of these included the Historic Environment Scotland, our Roots project for example, which is still running 8 years on, and also the Heritage Lottery Fund as it was known then. How we work with the heritage sector? Well, we make contact with heritage-focused organisations and sites. Through our Roots Scotland project, we now have a database of heritage-focused organisations that we call upon. An example of this is activities we've delivered with the Glasgow Museums Resource Centre and other funding support networks. We build partnerships. An example of this is our work with Scotland's Urban Past, where we ran an 8-week programme improving digital skills, oral histories and research tools. Our project made it into the final exhibition and we were invited to present our project at their launch. Our Roots Scotland project has organised community exhibitions celebrating heritage and its links to Scottish history. For example, we delivered activities that included site visits, workshops on diverse heritage and Scottish history. We provided linguistic support through capacity building, increasing confidence and engaging in stories of past and present. We linked with funders and other community groups through conversation cafes and one-to-ones. And we also built the capacity of small community groups to develop and apply for heritage-focused grants. We also support the needs and understanding of how to engage with communities. We do this by offering cultural and diversity training where needed to the heritage and the wider sectors. We develop activities where we support communities with cultural and linguistic barriers. For example, we opened our building for Glasgow Open Doors Day for the first time in history using volunteers as tour guides. This really brought local communities together. And foremost, we signpost and deliver activities that reduce prejudice and lack of awareness. The video you're about to see was made by Historic Environment Scotland last year. My name is Ghzala and I'm the Deputy Director of West of Scotland Regional Equality Council, also known as WSREC. The strapline itself for the corporate plan resonates with me personally and the work that we do for minority ethnic communities. We see an inclusive society free from discrimination. So the fact that it mentions all and everyone within the corporate plan highlights the fact that we will be working together with HES to try and build the gaps in services between minority ethnic communities accessing the rich historic environment that is Scotland. Our project, Root Scotland, has been funded through HES for the last 8 years. This has given us an opportunity to work with minority ethnic communities and bring together the communities and the barriers that we currently face in terms of accessing Scotland's historic environment. WSREC work primarily with minority ethnic communities, and we're based in the Napier's Hall Street Centre, which is an old school. Last year with Scotland's Urban Past project, we delivered a number of workshops to actually highlight the heritage of this building, and for the first time ever in history, we opened our doors to the wider public for Doors Open Day. The project was extremely successful in bringing back together communities, intercultural dialogue, people that had never accessed history in its service before, and there was a number of capacity building activities that built skills and further interest in people wanting to learn more about Scottish history and its environment. For years, Scotland has celebrated the rich diversity of all cultures, which makes it Scotland today. Scotland's culture is all our cultures. So that video was put on mainstream media, including Twitter, and one of the first comments was, "When is Ghzala going to go back home, where she belongs?" Now that got me thinking for a moment. It was somebody living in America that made that comment, and who were they to actually question where I belong? I don't call Pakistan my home because I was born in Glasgow, Scotland, and for just a moment I did question myself, but not for long. Scotland is my home and my heritage. This experience is not something new. And minority ethnic groups and other equality groups have faced these challenges and disadvantages for a long time in history. To give you an idea of this, what I'd like to do now is show you a series of adverts. Historic, but something to think about. These adverts that you're seeing give us an insight into our past, the inequalities faced on a daily basis, and not even direct discrimination, but marketed for all to see. The result? Damage to the unconscious and conscious bias to everyone that saw them. It belittled equality groups, making them believe that they were inferior and less valuable, putting everyone in one box and not thinking about individuals as human beings, but as assigned characteristics that describe them. Along with us dealing with a pandemic, the last few months have seen the Black Lives Matter movement on the increase. This has been a result of the murder of George Floyd. Globally and throughout media, we now see a lot of people standing up and fighting for their rights of inequalities and the discrimination that they've faced on a daily basis. Equality is equal access to opportunities. Diversity is everyone is different and individual. Inclusion is a sense of belonging, feeling supported and valued. The Stepping Into Diversity project was funded through the National Heritage Lottery Fund. For this project, we recruited 20 volunteers who gathered oral histories and provided guided tours to old buildings that are now purpose-built to become religious institutes. The aim of the project was to invite the wider communities to come through these doors and see how communities lived, celebrated diversity, and actually saw the purpose of these buildings and what they're used for now. Over the years, we have documented some of our project delivery, and I'm about to show you a couple of videos that will actually show some of the activities that we've undertook. Here is a Stepping Into Diversity video from 5 years ago.
If every person in Glasgow told a 5-minute story, we would still be listening in 5 years' time. We would hear stories never twice the same, never once less honest. We would cross continents and find families, long to love and learn to lose. We would invoke injustice, ambush apathy, reignite hope. Hope that the great cacophony of voices might come together and create. From Sauchiehall Street to Garnet Hill, Berkeley Street to Great Western Road, in the space of a few miles live a great number of these stories. Stories, the forgetting of which leaves not the loss of things once done, but the loss of identities once known. For when we forget to remember, we forget a part of who we are, a part of who we could become. We lose the setting of one sun in the rising of another. Awaken then, not only stories, but voices with which to tell them. Voices to reclaim his story and start telling ours.
Awaken. Voices to reclaim his story and start telling ours.
When I first came, with the first week when my sister and my mom was here with me, it was absolutely lovely because Glasgow is a really lovely city to be.
Awaken.
Are you from Moscow? In the beginning, it was very difficult. 1963.
We realized we had to leave that country. The difficulty was to get into another country. Nobody really wanted to take me.
The idea of making people welcoming people to your house, talking to people in the street. Yes, just welcoming people.
Awaken.
weekend.
That's the one thing which is quite strange. A lot of people feel very Pakistani, but I don't.
So that's how I came to Glasgow. It was by chance.
We have stood up for what we believe in.
Now, not a lot of people know about the Muslim communities and their involvement in World War I. For the centenary, we developed a project that would raise awareness of their involvement, that would also help reduce stereotypes, prejudice and perceptions of the Muslim communities today. This was an extremely sensitive topic given the global views and tensions that Muslim communities face on a daily basis. Islamophobia is real, and it may not be shown on mainstream media. However, we are more aware of localised incidents that take place on a daily basis. This project increased awareness and respect for all those that fought and lost their lives. This video explains a little bit more about the project. Well, I guess the main aim of the project was to actually find out what the Muslim community contribution was to the World War I.
1.5 million Indian soldiers were involved in the First World War. Of that number, 400,000 were of the Muslim faith.
At least 89,000 Muslims died fighting for Britain during the First World War, and I feel it's important that this is known by society because this is part of our shared history.
We mostly concentrated on Indian stories because that's the kind of information that we found, although there was a lot of discussion around on other missing communities such as the Middle Eastern.
African nations or African subcontinent that actually made a lot of sacrifices.
I became interested in this project because I know nothing about the First World War and especially nothing about the Muslim community during the First World War.
I think it's important that our generation learn from the old generations and to understand where we fit in society and where we fit in history.
I did do history when I was in high school, but I did do the World War I, but we didn't learn any part of the Muslim population side of it. It gives me a bigger picture of what actually happened in the war.
I come from a former colony, Nigeria, to see the similarities between India and Nigeria and the relationship to the kind of these Commonwealth relationships. It's interesting to find out how many Muslim soldiers fought in the First World War, and especially when you see films that don't include their narratives and their stories as well. So,
what is the implications of that?
The stuff is left out.
Yeah.
So there's gaps.
Exactly, we don't know what is left out.
I think it's really important that their stories are also included in the bigger narrative about the war.
Went home to get recruits Everything was very quiet at home. Everyone's thoughts are always with their soldier sons across the sea.
And they were in ceaseless anxiety. May the God of mercy soon grant peace and health in all the world.
Even though it was very, very difficult conditions, Muslim soldiers did try to keep the fast.
The writer consoled the soldier with an optimistic idea that perseverance shall be rewarded in the form of pride and glory.
They found a different world after war, and after that they wrote the different words about the war. This is
I want to apply my research skills into the projects to research on the Muslim communities and how perception of the Muslim communities have changed from the past to present.
It's very, very important, especially in this day and age of quite negative press for the Muslim community at large.
Talking about how negative a particular newspaper can be and how people can view negativity in the world from one particular newspaper that they choose to read. So with that, we need to open our eyes to see.
After doing this particular project, I think it's very important that we carry this on and take on less information that's all available in relation to other faith groups, in particular countries that were, or subcontinents within the colonial past.
There are a lot of things that I didn't know before this, and since the first session, it has enlightened a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's fine.
So these videos and images that you've seen has made it look really easy to access communities and deliver activities with them, but let me tell you, it is not. Glasgow alone has 114 languages, and that showcases that language is still one of the biggest barriers to accessing mainstream services. Other barriers include a lack of knowledge and awareness of the activities that are happening. Many people feel that this isn't for me. It could be large heritage sites, there could be entrance fees, socioeconomic disadvantages and poverty may stop people accessing some of these sites. Most marketing is now online and using social media tools. A lot of our communities that we work with have lack of literacy in IT and also maybe tablets and smartphones. This results in them not accessing this information. Well, you may be asking what you can do as an organisation. Well, for a start, think about putting equality at the forefront of your agenda. Think about your board, your strategic groups, your corporate plan, and see how you can make equalities a mainstream service that you offer. You may also want to develop a toolkit to make sure that you're taking everyone in consideration. You want to develop your activities in a way that involves others. And for this, you might want to take up partnerships and external links with community groups to help you access some of the communities and the barriers that they face. That brings me on very nicely to what you can do for external engagement. You can build partnerships at grassroots level. You can work with community groups like us and others in your area. You can arrange your marketing to be fed to all communities by passing activities and projects onto your partners to help them develop them. You can build your diversity by engaging with the local community champions, volunteers who can get the word out for you and help you diversify your service. You can attend local events, activities, gatherings, social hubs to engage with communities that you aren't targeting at the moment. You could apply for partnership or consortium funding where you deliver and minority ethnic groups provide the linguistic support and the venues that make people comfortable in the communities that you're targeting. Going forward, given the current circumstances with the pandemic, it might be an idea that you have a look at your equality diversity in the following ways. Think about setting up a steering group involving people from all ages and backgrounds. Think about online sessions to try and get the community groups together, some focus group to find out what they want and what they need. You may also want to think about risk management within your organisation and raise awareness of your staff force with some equality and diversity training. To give you some examples of how you can embed inequalities into your day-to-day working is have a look at your recruitment. Make sure that there's no unconscious bias there. When you're shortlisting applications, remove all the details from the application so that the individual that is doing the interview or the shortlisting doesn't know who that is. You may also have your board at capacity at the moment, but you might want to think about setting up a steering group with young people, old people, people with disabilities, people from minority ethnic backgrounds. And the reason for this is that you'll be getting a voice from all. They might not be part of your board, but they'll help you forward with your strategic thinking. Whether it's with your staff or with your communities or your service users, it's really important to recognise the diversity around you. What you can do is celebrate key events, festivals, and put these online or pass on awareness of them through your staff, your community members, online on social media. This helps people feel that you're thinking about them and that they're valued and respected for their cultures and their beliefs.